An Oklahoma judge has ruled that death row inmate Wade Lay is mentally incompetent to be executed. This significant decision was issued by Pittsburg County Judge Tim Mills. The ruling effectively halts Lay's scheduled execution. His execution had been set for June 6, 2024. Judge Mills stated that the available evidence clearly demonstrated Lay's incompetence. The finding was based on a preponderance or greater weight of the evidence presented. This judicial determination prevents the state from moving forward with the execution as planned. It underscores the legal requirement that individuals must possess a rational understanding of their punishment. The ruling provides a temporary reprieve for Mr. Lay. It also initiates a new phase in his long-standing legal case. The focus now shifts from the execution itself to Lay's mental state and potential treatment. This outcome highlights the complex intersection of mental health and capital punishment law. The judge's order is a direct consequence of legal challenges raised regarding Lay's competency. These challenges are rooted in constitutional principles prohibiting the execution of individuals who are not mentally capable. The ruling confirms that, based on current evidence, Mr. Lay meets this criterion for incompetence. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. The judge's ruling was based on evidence presented by experts from both the defense and the state. These mental health professionals had conducted examinations of Mr. Lay. Both sets of experts reached a consensus on key aspects of Lay's mental condition. They found that Lay suffers from specific, severe mental illnesses. These diagnoses include schizophrenia, characterized by disordered thinking. He also experiences significant delusions and paranoia. Crucially, the experts concluded that Lay lacks a rational understanding of the reason for his impending execution. This lack of rational understanding is a critical legal standard. The state, after reviewing the expert findings, conceded to Lay's incompetence. Judge Mills explicitly stated that Lay lacks a rational understanding of why he is to be executed. Under Oklahoma law, this specific deficit in understanding constitutes mental incompetence for the purpose of execution. The legal standard requires more than just factual awareness. It demands a rational grasp of the connection between the crime and the punishment. The agreement between state and defense experts on this point was highly influential. It removed a potential area of dispute for the judge. The concession by the state's attorneys acknowledged the compelling nature of the mental health evidence presented. This legal standard for competency to be executed is distinct from competency to stand trial. While competency to stand trial focuses on the ability to understand proceedings and assist counsel, competency for execution centers on understanding the punishment itself. The ruling confirms Lay fails to meet this latter standard. Wade Lay suffers from severe and persistent mental illness. His condition includes profound delusions. These delusions involve a belief in a wide-ranging government conspiracy directed specifically against him. This deeply ingrained delusional belief system prevents him from forming a rational understanding of why the state intends to execute him. He perceives the execution not as punishment for his crime, but as part of this elaborate persecutory conspiracy. This distorted reality is central to his legal incompetence. Lay's attorneys expressed relief following the judge's ruling. They have consistently argued that executing Lay in his current mental state would constitute a violation of the United States Constitution. The Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, which courts have interpreted to include executing individuals who are not competent. His legal team believes it is unlikely that Lay will ever regain competency. This prognosis is based on the long duration and severity of his mental illness. Schizophrenia, particularly when severe and long-standing, can be resistant to treatment aimed at restoring rational understanding regarding specific delusional beliefs. Reports indicate that Lay's mental condition has deteriorated in recent years. This deterioration further supports the argument that restoration of competency is improbable. The progressive nature of his illness complicates any potential treatment efforts. Despite the unlikelihood of restoration, state law mandates periodic assessment of Lay's competency. This legal requirement ensures that his mental state is reviewed over time. These future assessments will determine if any change in his condition warrants a reevaluation of his competency status. The legal framework acknowledges that mental states can potentially change. However, in cases of severe chronic conditions like Lay's, the prospect of achieving the specific legal standard of rational understanding for execution is often considered remote. The ruling reflects the current assessment of his persistent inability to grasp the reality of his situation. Wade Lay was convicted and sentenced to death for a crime committed in 2004. The crime involved the murder of bank security guard Kenneth Anderson. This tragic event occurred during an attempted bank robbery. Lay's son, Christopher Lay, was also involved in the commission of the crime. Christopher Lay received a sentence of life without parole for his participation. The father and son acted together in the attempted robbery that resulted in Mr. Anderson's death. A notable aspect of Wade Lay's trial was his decision to represent himself. This is a right afforded to defendants, but it carries significant risks, particularly for individuals with potential mental health issues. The trial judge did not order a mental health evaluation for Lay prior to or during the trial. Furthermore, the trial judge did not appoint standby counsel to assist Lay. Standby counsel can provide legal guidance and support to a pro se defendant, helping them navigate complex legal procedures. The absence of both a mental health evaluation and standby counsel at trial has been a point of concern and legal challenge in Lay's case history. Critics argue that Lay's decision to represent himself, coupled with the lack of mental health assessment, may have impacted the presentation of evidence regarding his mental state during the guilt and sentencing phases. His behavior and arguments during the trial were reportedly erratic, which some observers attributed to his underlying mental illness. The failure to formally assess his mental health at that critical juncture is seen by some as a missed opportunity to address issues that are now central to his competency for execution. The crime itself was a violent act that resulted in the loss of an innocent life. The attempted robbery escalated into a fatal confrontation with the security guard. The involvement of Lay's son adds another layer of tragedy to the case. The legal proceedings following the conviction have been lengthy and complex. Appeals and post-conviction challenges have explored various aspects of the trial and sentencing. The current focus on Lay's mental competency for execution represents a distinct legal phase, separate from challenges to the conviction itself. The circumstances of the trial, particularly Lay's self-representation and the lack of mental health evaluation, remain relevant context. They highlight potential systemic issues in how mental illness is identified and addressed within the criminal justice system, especially in capital cases. The current competency finding brings these past issues into sharper focus. The ruling finding Wade Lay mentally incompetent for execution is a significant development with varied impacts. For the family of the victim, Kenneth Anderson, the ruling represents a profound setback. They have waited nearly 2 decades for the execution to be carried out. The victim's daughter expressed devastation upon hearing the news. The delay prolongs their grief and sense of injustice. The emotional toll on victims' families throughout the lengthy appeals process in capital cases is immense. The Oklahoma Attorney General also expressed disappointment with the delay. The Attorney General's office represents the state in seeking to carry out the sentence imposed by the court. Delays in executions are often viewed by prosecutors as undermining the finality of justice. However, the Attorney General also acknowledged the legal necessity for Lay to undergo mental health treatment. This acknowledgement reflects the state's obligation under the law. Following the competency finding, the legal process requires an attempt to restore competency if deemed possible. The Attorney General expressed hope that treatment might restore Lay's competency. This hope is tied to the possibility that Lay could eventually be reevaluated. If deemed competent in the future, the state could then seek a new execution date. This situation highlights the difficult balance between the state's interest in carrying out a lawful sentence and the constitutional requirement that the condemned individual be competent. The ruling forces the state to address Lay's mental health condition before proceeding further. The reactions underscore the deep divisions and emotional weight surrounding capital punishment cases. Victims' families often seek closure through the finality of the sentence. Delays, regardless of the legal basis, can reopen wounds and prolong suffering. The Attorney General's position reflects the state's commitment to upholding both the sentence and the legal standards governing its execution. Mental health advocates and civil rights groups often view such rulings as necessary protections. They argue that executing individuals with severe mental illness is unethical and unconstitutional. The case becomes a focal point for debates about the humanity and fairness of the death penalty system. Following the ruling, Judge Mills issued an order for Wade Lay to undergo mental health treatment. This treatment is specifically ordered in an effort to restore his sanity and, by extension, his legal competency for execution. The location and specifics of this treatment will be determined by the state. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals is expected to issue a formal stay of execution. While the judge's ruling effectively halts the execution, a formal stay from the state's highest criminal court provides official confirmation and direction. This is a standard procedural step in such cases. Lay will likely be transferred to a state mental health facility for evaluation and treatment. The goal of this treatment, from the state's perspective, is to potentially restore his rational understanding of his punishment. The effectiveness of such treatment in cases of severe chronic schizophrenia with fixed delusions is often limited. State law requires periodic reviews of Lay's competency status while he is undergoing treatment. These reviews will involve further evaluations by mental health professionals. The findings of these future evaluations will determine whether the state can again seek to execute him. If Lay is deemed to have regained competency, the state would then petition the court to lift the stay and set a new execution date. If he is found to remain incompetent, the stay would likely remain in place, and he would continue to receive treatment and periodic evaluations. There is no legal limit on how long this process can continue. This case marks the second time this year that an Oklahoma death row inmate has been found mentally incompetent for execution. This pattern highlights the ongoing challenges the state faces in navigating capital cases involving severe mental illness. It underscores the importance of competency evaluations in ensuring compliance with constitutional standards. The legal process moving forward will focus on Lay's response to treatment and the findings of future competency evaluations. The outcome will depend on whether his severe delusional system can be altered to the extent required by the legal standard for rational understanding. The case will continue to be monitored by legal professionals, advocates, and the public interested in criminal justice and mental health issues.